Hello, hello, hi.
Check.
Hello, hello.
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to each one of you to the 5th Professor Jose Murickan Memorial Lecture, a program organized by the Loyola College Alumni Association to honor the life and legacy of a beloved teacher, academician, and mentor, Professor Jose Murickan. Let us begin this meaningful occasion with a prayer. I invite Ms. Amrita and Anambika for a prayer song.
ലോകം മുഴുവൻ സുഖം പകരാനായി സ്നേഹദീപമേ മിഴി തുറക്കൂ. ലോകം മുഴുവൻ സുഖം പകരാനായി സ്നേഹദീപമേ മിഴി തുറക്കൂ. കദന നിവാരണ കനിവിന്നുറവേ കാട്ടിൻ നടുവിൽ വഴി തെളിക്കൂ. ലോകം മുഴുവൻ സുഖം പകരാനായി സ്നേഹദീപമേ മിഴി തുറക്കൂ. പരീക്ഷണത്തിൻ വാൾമുനയേറ്റി പടനിലത്തിൽ ഞങ്ങൾ വീഴുമ്പോൾ ഹൃദയക്ഷതിയായി രക്തം ചിന്തി മിഴിനീർ പുഴയിൽ താഴുമ്പോൾ താങ്ങായി തണലായി ദിവ്യൗഷധിയായി താഥാനാഥ കരം പിടിക്കൂ. ലോകം മുഴുവൻ സുഖം പകരാനായി സ്നേഹദീപമേ മിഴി തുറക്കൂ.
Next, to officially welcome the gathering, we are honored to invite Mr. Anthony Thomas, a proud alumnus from the MSW 1975-77 batch. He is currently the president of the Rotary Club Trivandrum South, a strategic project consultant and a global MBA faculty member at the Manchester Business School, UK. He is also the president of Loyola College Alumni Association. Sir, I invite you for the welcome address.
Good morning. Thank you. On behalf of the Loyola College Alumni Association and the Loyola College of Social Sciences, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you for the 5th Professor Dr. Father late Jose Murickan Memorial Lecture. This annual lecture, okay, let me just take a small deviation and recollect my association with Father Jose Murickan. Jose Murickan was our principal. The first year I had Father Puttangulam, and the second year I had Jose Murickan as principal. After I finished my MSW, he asked me to lead a research project. A research project was a project which was a joint project with Namur University, Belgium, and Loyola College. So we had 5 economists. Since you have an economist sitting here, we had 5 economists from Namur University sitting in our college. They used to cycle from Pongumud and come here every day. And the project was a study of indebtedness and creditworthiness of fishermen of Kerala. I think nowhere in the country such a study has been conducted. Massive study. 5 of us was there. I remember Geeta Abraham. I remember getting into a bus early morning and going to a village called Puar. Puar was one of the poorest villages in the country at that point of time. So we selected Puar, we selected Purakad, we selected Nindagara for different levels of technology. Geeta later on joined the IAS. We were 5 of us. I joined Keltron. After 2 years of project, we came out with a very, very massive study. There's a book here in the library. I just want students to know that way back in 1977, we had research work going on in Loyola. I joined Keltron along with to work with KPP Nambiar. Geeta joined the Indian Administrative Service. Kuchirani became a social worker, one of the most famous social workers in Kerala. Dominic Alvarez became a labor commissioner. So all of us started from that village called Puar, seeing, today they say abject poverty. It was beyond abject poverty, very much beyond abject poverty. So that has influenced my life all through my professional career worldwide. It continues to influence today. Yesterday I was in Gavi, a beautiful paradise. If people have not seen Gavi, then you have not seen Kerala. And there we went to a tribal village, and there we saw what real abject poverty is. So there's a lot of work to be done, especially for social workers and sociology students. And the second project I did, I want to say that because it's Father Murickan's memorial. The second project I did, both the project I was leading the project. The second project was the study of Catholic colleges in India. There is also a book, the book is at home. We studied the Catholic colleges in India with one purpose, to find out the mission of these colleges. Have they fulfilled the mission the reason which they started the colleges? I remember going to Loyola College, Stella Maris, all the colleges, more or less covering all the colleges. And one thing I should say, when we studied those colleges, the country was run by alumni of these colleges. I don't want to name the names, whether it's St. Xavier's College, Calcutta, or St. Xavier's College, Bombay, or Loyola College, Madras. At one point, Loyola College, Madras, including the president of the country, the Minister for Finance of the country, we're all from Loyola. So thank you for that, listening for that, and let me come back to my welcome. This annual lecture is not just an event, it is a moment of remembrance. That's why I'm remembering him. I still remember, I teach at Manchester Business School. Yesterday I had 5 students coming from 5 countries. The research project I follow even today is what Father Murickan and Father T.S. Imbla taught me. So there is a lot of things which we have taken from the college and given back to society, and we continue to give. We come together to honor the life and legacy of Father Jose Murickan, a revered teacher, mentor, scholar, whose commitment to social sciences and human values continue to inspire generations of Loyola students. In fact, his brother was my teacher in St. Joseph's School, Trivandrum, George Murickan. We are deeply privileged to have with us today a distinguished economist. I am also happy to say that you are my alumni of Murickan College, where I was also involved with the 75th anniversary of Murickan, where I invited her as a distinguished speaker. And after that, many calls are coming to me asking to give an introduction to you to take classes in different colleges. Thank you so much for coming to Loyola today. And I'm sure we'll have a detailed introduction about you. Dr. Lekha Chakraborty is a professor, is an international economist. So that is, countries are run by economists, not by politicians. So you can get the value of economists. Everybody looks forward at the Nobel Prize in economics, and everybody talks about it. Creative destruction? Creative destruction is a concept which won Nobel Prize this year. Maybe you'll have a small word about it. Yeah, thank you. Ma'am, we are truly honored by your gracious presence and your willingness to share your insights with the Loyola community. I also extend a warm welcome to all the members of the Loyola Alumni Association, esteemed faculty, all of you, very dynamic Alumni Association faculty, and all the students who have been here today. So I would encourage all of you, always question, not question the truth or question the fake news which is happening, but keep questioning. So once again, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the warm welcome and for setting the stage for the day. Next, to render an introduction to the lecture and to set the context for our gathering, I now invite Reverend Dr. Sabu P. Thomas SJ, the principal of our college. Over to you, sir.
The speaker of the 5th Dr. Jose Murickan Memorial Lecture, Dr. Lekha Chakraborty, the President of Loyola College Alumni Association, Dr. Anthony, the Secretary of the Association, Dr. Jasmine Sarah Alexander, the Treasurer, Dr. Francina, Vice Principal, Father Ranjit, dear HODs, faculty members, and my dear students and research scholars. It was already informed about Father Jose Murickan. Let me speak a bit more about him. You know the year in which Loyola started, 1963. Dr. Jose Murickan started teaching here after having trained in MA Sociology in the United States. In 1965, he joined this college. That is, the year the college started, he was sent to the States for his sociology studies. So from 1965 onwards, he is teaching here in management vacancy, and after 2 years only, he got he was appointed in an official post. That is why it's written 17 years of official service, but altogether 19.6 years of service in Loyola from October 1965 to March 1985. He was the vice principal, he was the principal, he was the main person to initiate the Alumni Association of Loyola College. Then, after his retirement also, during his service, he was the president of Kerala Sociological Society for 2 terms. He was the vice president of Xavier Board of Higher Education in India. Dr. Anthony was speaking about the institutions of Christian higher learning. That association is called Xavier Board of Higher Education, and he was the vice president. If you remember, I was in Mangalore last week. That was for attending this meeting. The president of the association was the former principal of Andhra Loyola College, and from Mangalore, the principal or vice chancellor of Mangalore University, St. Aloysius University, got elected. If you remember, one who came for our autonomy launch here, Dr. Praveen, he is the president of the association. But I am trying to tell is, Dr. Jose Murickan served in various capacities during his service as a professor. And after his retirement, he became the director and superior of Indian Social Institute, Bangalore. Before that, he was the provincial of Kerala Jesuit Society after his retirement. Incidentally, I joined the Jesuit Society when Father Murickan was the provincial. So this is, you imagine why the influence of that person. And one of the alumna of Dr. Jose Murickan, Dr. Geeta Paul, who studied here in 1970-74, she was the person instrumental for instituting this memorial lecture, and that was instituted in 2019. So eminent persons like the former 2 chief secretaries, like Dr. Jayakumar, Mr. Gigi Thompson, IAS, and if you remember, the founder of Asianet channel, Shashikumar, he was the person who delivered this lecture online.
distinguished faculty members, student leaders, and my dear students and friends. It's my privilege and honor to speak or to deliver the memorial lecture of Father Jose. And he has built a set of brilliant students, and they are still leading our country. So it's my privilege and honor to be here, delivering his memorial lecture. And I understand that it's a very vibrant college here, and Loyola, it's always one look forward to. And when you are here, you don't understand the importance. But when you say that I'm a Loyolite, it's like you're with the best minds. So that's the way you're here, and you articulate, and you get the best out of life. And Jasmine is there, I didn't forget you. Okay, and she was communicating me throughout, and it was very comfortable and very welcoming to look forward to mingle with all of you. Now, coming to my topic on the time budgets, Father Principal has already set the tone for that. Like way, we look into the chronology of the time in our lives. So this is an economics topic, the chronology of time. Yeah? This is like echo, no? Okay. Now, if I don't touch this, will it be fine? This is fine? Okay, okay. I'll just do standardize and speak then. I was touching the dice, maybe that's the reason. Okay, this is fine? Okay, okay. Maybe I'll keep a distance, my microphone management is very poor. Okay, so coming to the topic on the chronology of the time. When we look into the economic perspective of time, there is a tendency that we just focus on 8 hours of work we do for the market economy, and the rest 24 hours minus 8 hours, that's not the cup of tea of any policymakers. So we need to unpack that 24 minus 8 hours to understand the efficiency and resource allocation happening in a very statistically invisible segment of the economy. In the sense, in GDP, in the gross domestic product, what we are trying to capture and measure is just the 8 hours what we are doing, like where we do work and get monetized. But Dr. Sabu came with a book about the personal time management. So if you look at the systems of national accounts, when 24 minus 8 is not accounted, then it is called a non-SNA activity, or it is never recognized. And this lacuna in the data building, in the policy making, was first analyzed by United Nations Statistical Division in 1993. So they have done a systems of national account. They mentioned that we need to extend the production boundary, incorporate the activities which are creating value in the economy. It is not just the 8 hours, it is 8 plus. So they extended the production boundary to incorporate many activities which create value in the system. Then what is not measured and not valued, that is not the part of policy making, no? So it is very important to extend the production boundary. Now, after extending the production boundary based on the 1993 systems of national accounts, something still is not an SNA kind of a work. That is the personal time management. The time we sleep, the personal care, rejuvenate and come to the class next day. So that also requires time. So when you look at the data regarding this 8 hours, 24 minus 8 hours where the personal time management or the personal care is looked into, if that portion is shrunk, then we can understand that there is a stress in the chronology of the 24 hours for you. And there are gender differentials in it, and the data across the different age groups also shows different revelations or empirical evidence. So youngsters, Dr. Anthony was talking about the survey-based, empirics-based or evidence-based research. So there is a questionnaire in the time use survey conducted by MOSPI, Ministry of Statistical, whatever it is, Policy and Implementation, MOSPI. So there in the back of that time use survey, there is a questionnaire. It is based on the GDP calculation and beyond GDP. So this is like a policy we are taking beyond GDP. So that question, you are not stressing the people with asking a lot of, innumerable questions. It is just like you're talking about what is valuable for a person, that is a chronology of a person in terms of time. So what do you do after getting up? And 24 hours, how you spend time. So then researchers recode those activities into the systems of national accounts which get into the GDP calculation. Then the personal care, sleeping, loving your kid, because loving your kid can never be economically valued. No, because I cannot ask somebody else to love kid for me. So there are many things which you don't value. So economists are not that heartless to value everything. So we trichotomize the 24 hours of time. 8 hours GDP, then extended systems of national accounts happened in 1993 based on United Nations Statistical Division. That will get into as extended SNA framework, the activities. And the third is non-SNA. We don't want to value, we don't want to keep that as economic activity because these are personal care and personal time. So the chronology of the time is trichotomized. And then researchers recode the activities which you ask a person into these 3 categories. So you can go to a homogeneous entity like fisher community, that's a homogeneous entity. So when you do a research, you need to compare things because relative to what? That is every time an economist asks. So you have to get into a homogeneous community, just like the way Dr. Anthony was talking about fisher community. In the homogeneous community, you are asking the questions by controlling. So this is exactly the methodology, called randomized control experiments. You control certain entities and do the research. Like then that is randomized control. That also got Nobel Prize. Esther Duflo, Abhijit Banerjee, they got the Nobel Prize for the randomized control experiments. So you can go take this survey questionnaire at the back of the time use survey conducted by the National Statistical Organization of our country and ask questions to the fishermen, fisherwomen, or whatever. You can even test it in campus, the way you spent your time. Then record the activities into economic, SNA, systems of national account activities, and value it. And how to value, I'll get into it. Then you will understand the way you are time poor or not. Because we talk about ultra poverty eradication and all, right? But it is multidimensional the moment you talk about ultra poverty. And time, or the time budgets, is an aspect which we never looked into when we talk about ultra poor. Because time poverty, that always affects your income poverty. If you're time poor, though government will come up with a lot of employment guarantee schemes, but when the people are time poor, they will not be able to access it to get, monetary benefits out of it. So researchers look into the time poverty to understand the dimensions and how it affects your income poverty. So there are different ways in which you can ask questions. And another important way to look into the time budget is work-life balance. In India, we have only 2 time budgets. One happened in 1999-2000 across selected 6 states of India. The second happened in 2019. 2020, the data was out. That is based on all the states. So you get time budgets for all the states of India right now, and you're ready to look into these 3 categories which I mentioned and to value time. So the data is ready, the questionnaire is ready. Now, what kind of questions you need to ask into? That's important. And one question I asked for my research is deficiency in infrastructure. Whether that lead to any private cost, in the sense, in a village, if there is a deficiency in the physical infrastructure. Let's take, for instance, water or energy infrastructure. That leads to private cost, especially for women and girls. Everybody want to live authentically by using the best use of time. But if they are time constrained and spending something which government is not providing in terms of infrastructure, then it's affecting the quality of time and the way, they won't be able to live authentic. In the sense, a child, she wants to go to school. If you increase the education budgets, you will not get a girl child to a school. But if you increase the water budgets, she will be in school, because the responsibility of ensuring clean water, clean fuel, that becomes a responsibility of a girl child. So she's not in school, not because of the increase in the education budgets, but it is because of the lack of infrastructure. So I looked into this question: what determines or what can reduce the private cost? So these are the questions you can ask. And when I was in CDS, a set of researchers came from SOIS. SOIS in London, Oxford. So I worked with them as a researcher, translating the statements from the villages near Akulam to these researchers. So they were asking the questions not strictly quantitative, because economists always want to look into the questions from a very quantitative methodology perspective. But there are brilliant methodologies on the qualitative side as well. So they were looking into the qualitative methodologies, and we need to bridge, quantitative and qualitative. We call it a Q-squared approach, because quantitative, like millions of regressions, economists may run to come up for a result, the coefficients. But a set of researchers don't run billions of regressions or economic models to get answers. They go and listen to the compelling stories to be told by the poor. So that methodology is called Perspectives of Poor by Poor. So there is Deepa Narayanan's work by World Bank. She looked into these questions from the perspectives of poor by poor methodology. It's a qualitative methodology. She just listened to the compelling stories to be told. So here the research is time poverty. So we need to ask the questions related to the time budgeting and time poverty of the poor people. So they will tell their compelling stories, and that's worth running millions of regressions and get coefficients to provide to the policy makers. Like if you increase 1%, increase in your water budgets, then the possibility of getting a girl child to a school will increase by this much. So some coefficients you get. But at the same time, the compelling storytelling is also a methodology to be looked into to understand the perspective of woman by woman, or perspective of poor by poor, or youngsters by youngsters. So that's a way. So we have a scientific methodology, which is then, how do you flow this survey? You cannot just go and pick up randomly and ask. So there are different methodologies in which you need to choose which ward, which place, which person you need to talk into. These are all very scientific. Otherwise, the inferences you draw from your research cannot be generalized. It is just a case study. So if you want to make it as a case study, you're random. You can be random and pick up the questions. So this is the setting for the data and methodology. Now let's ask the research questions and get into there. We need to measure what is not measured, and we need to value what is not valued. That is the time budgets beyond the GDP or the systems of national accounts. That's a research question. How to look into this? When you ask a person the chronology of the time, you get the value in terms of time. Now to make it into a measure like GDP or GNP or the house product or something, you need to impute something to it. So what researchers do is, they impute, like in the market, what is a wage that exists for each of the work done. So they try to impute that wage into each of the work done at the household sector to translate that time budgets into a value, or what is the value of the work you've done in the unmonetized, unpaid sector. But it can be an underestimation, because you don't get very good substitutes of wage to impute to the work done at the household, right? So what do you do in the market hierarchy of wages? You take the minimum wage and impute to the work done in the care sector. So you get a value. Though it's an underestimate, it's an estimate. And what's the other way you can estimate the time budgets in the care sector? Opportunity cost. So if I ask you what is the opportunity cost of your time now, like now you're listening to me, So opportunity cost means if you're not here in the theater, what you would have done. So that's the opportunity cost. So I don't know whether you will go for a beautiful walk in the campus or you go to the library. So what is the opportunity cost of your time? I don't know. And people, economists, they mention that you do an opportunity cost of your time, then you get a value. But that is giving you a range of results, and it is kind of an absurd range of results. But if you impute the wage, you are getting one value. That's better. Now, there is one more method. One is this input method, globalized input method based on wage. Second is opportunity cost method of the time you spend the non-SNA sector. Third is pricing method, like the way the GDP is calculated. Like you impute the price to the work done. Price in the sense, if you are taking the 1 quintal fuel load, then you impute that this is the outcome and impute the value, market value of that. But there are lacuna with that also, because the intensity of the time is not getting measured the moment you get into the pricing method. So there are different ways in which you can compute. Now, at the end of the day, if I give you the results, I will share your paper. I'll give it to Professor Jasmine. She can share it with all of you. We have tried to do this lifting of the statistical invisibility of the care economy across Indian states by applying the global substitute method based on the wages. And the result is, striking in the sense it's just half of the gross domestic product of that state. So what are we talking? If the policy makers are just focusing on the time which is spent only on that 8 hours in the market sector, the economic welfare of the country will not go up. So we take one sector for granted. But, we can't do that. There is a stress over there. And the economic loss is enormous because the insights, the talents, the diversity which can come on table and increase the economic welfare of the nation, that's getting foregone the moment we forget about this statistically invisible sector called care. So if you ask me which country, have policies regarding this, there are countries. Canada have good policies. Scandinavian countries have good policies regarding the care. There, public policy itself has undergone a revolution. Now for the macro policy makers, they only look into the policies which can increase the growth of the country in terms of GDP. We have Vikasit Bharat, there are 10 pillars, Vikasit Bharat, and we have the glide path to reach over there by 2047. But if you set that glide path for the Vikasit Bharat just to increase, just to graduate your dreams from this set of GDP to the next set of GDP to only become developed country in terms of GDP, you're getting only a partial outcome. But beyond the GDP, you need to look into the aspects related to the human capital formation. And that's quite crucial. And the time budgets are very important to look into the human capital formation. So that's very relevant. Otherwise, we just having the outcome. What is our end result? GDP. Graduate to the next level of GDP and stop it. This revolution or this eye-opening has happened, in 1990s. Amartya Sen and Mehboob Haq, economists who try to move the debate ahead from GDP. So this paradigm shift it's a beautiful paradigm shift to beyond the GDP to the human capital formation. So, but how do you measure human development? Because it's enormous, like it's a very nebulous, very intangible concept like human development. Your personal development, personal growth, how do you measure that? So there are cyclicality over there, and there is a structural trend over there. Cyclicality means your marks or your personal sadness or something has a cyclicality. It comes and goes. But if you look at the overall trend, that is a structural component. Like overall, okay, today I'm here, but in no moment, in a few years' time, things will show up. So I'm focused, I'm on the trend. So that's a trend component. Like that, there are, in GDP also there is cyclicality and trend. That is why Geeta Gopinath, she mentioned that the policies of each country, they think that GDP is just cyclical. So you make your monetary policy and fiscal policy as counter-cyclical, things will work. No, she warned the nations that this is not just cyclical, some things are just structural. In the sense, in the post-pandemic period, the dip that has happened in the growth, that is not cyclical because it's a permanent scar. So whether it's personal growth or economy, if there is a permanent scar, you think that things related to cyclicality will work? No. Then the cycle will become the trend and you need to work for it to understand the structural bottlenecks. And there the time budgets are very crucial. So how to measure human development? So we have something on board. Every year we get a human development index based on education, health and income. But that also, economists have highlighted in the human development index, we have not incorporated the time budgets. So we have done a counterfactual exercise using the HDI methodology at NIPFP. A girl, who was interning with me, she was from BITS Pilani that time, Bhavya, and then she went to Berkeley. So she was working with me, incorporating the time budgets, build the global HDI change. Will the nations get the same ranking if you incorporate time budgets? We have done that analysis and it is published in the Levy Economic Institute. So we need to ask the question, what is HDI? Why it is technically constrained? What are the ways in which we need to look into comprehensively? So these are the questions, and time budgets, time dimensions is very crucial. Now, human development index is just gender neutral. But if you look into the time budgets, if you look into the human development, it is not gender neutral. There are gender differentials to it. Like men and women, they don't experience the economy equally because there is an economic and social asymmetry in the outcomes. So how to go about that? Then you apply a gender lens. So in the time budgets also, you need to apply a gender lens. Then we have socioeconomic groups. Intersectionality questions. So timed budgets, we cannot say that all people are equal. Take the income quintiles. In one income quintile, all will behave perfectly. No, even within the income quintiles, there are differentials across gender, across socioeconomic groups. So we have done all these in detail and come up with the empirically evidence or evidence-based research. So I try to explain what is not measured. Then I gave you the data and methodology, how we can measure it. Now, from the question, theory, to the data, to the empirics, we need to get into the last segment, that is policy making. And policy making, Scandinavian countries and Canada, we can look into how they have done, incorporated the time. So if you look into the time stress, the work-life balance, in Canada, they have come up in HR unit, like our human resource development, they have HR Canada, Human Resource Canada. That's the way the federal department. So I got a fellowship to look into the questions related to the gender lens applied within the federal departments of Canada. So it's like, a blue-eyed door opening before you, and they are so professional. They don't think that you are a student and you're coming to study. The professionals, 1 or 3 officials, they explain to you what Canada is doing and how I can imbibe from that. So those were the, that knowledge is free, and knowledge is like the value, it is intangible, priceless. So they were talking to me how, Canada has done that. So they mentioned about a policy of compassionate care. In the sense, we have only looked into the care economy with respect to giving woman who is having a kid 2 years you take leave and discrete or continuous. But in Canada, there is compassionate care. It's like with dignity, you can be away from your workforce to take care of the most ailing close relative. So they get the benefits in terms of dollars for going away. But what's happening in our country? If it is hitting a crisis, we quit. We quit the labor force and we attend what is to be attended. So there are different ways in which they maintain the policies based on the principle that individuals are independent of each other. So that's a public policy imbibing a rationale that the people are independent of each other, and there is a role of government over there to play. That autonomous individuality, that got into the public policy making. And you can watch the details of this public policy making in a documentary called Swedish theory of love. The Swedish theory of love starts with this public policy revolution that independent of each other concept and how the government helped the people who learn to live alone. So those kind of policy makings we need to, otherwise, who is taking the sacrifice, who is doing the time management poorly, and they will lose out. And now even the United Nations have come up with the paradigm that LNOB, leave nobody behind. So if the economy is progressing, it has to be on the basis of leave nobody behind. If some people are left, the role of public policy is to understand these unfreedoms of the people, remove the unfreedom of the people and take them on board so that they can also equally enjoy the economic benefits. So if a people is set vulnerable, it's a role of the policy to remove those unfreedoms and take ahead. So that's the way, policy needs to be framed. Otherwise, if public policy is on the basis of equal opportunity for all and say that we are budget makers, we are public policy makers, we don't distinguish between people, we do the policies, you come and access the benefits of the public policy. No, some people are not able to access. Based on the methodology of fiscal incidence or benefit incidence analysis, we have looked into the distributional impact or distributional justice of a budget policy. Who is accessing it? Across income quintiles, across gender, across geography. So we are getting the results that it is not accessed equally. So that distributional justice and social justice is also the part of public policy making, and there the time budgeting is a crucial tool. Maybe let me stop here and seek some questions or clarifications from you so that I can derive more energy to speak. So the floor is open and we have a roving mic, and you ask me questions. I love to take your questions. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your insightful thoughts. And my question is, Kerala has been at the forefront of progressive public policy initiatives, as you have mentioned in the introductory part. And the Kerala have proposed a right to disconnect bill. Have you heard about it? I hope so. A right to disconnect bill adds to its effort. When we talk about moving beyond GDP as a measure of progress, how does this bill reflect that shift? And in what ways can it ensure a gender-neutral approach to work-life balance, especially in this so-called patriarchal society?
Thank you so much. What is your view on that? You want to disconnect?
I was actually confused while having such a policy initiative. Does this actually be relevant at this point of time? Does the employees will get such a chance to be disconnected from the duty they have? I'm not sure about it, what stand I should take on that, but I hope in the very near, the employees did get a chance to disconnect easily, but in later for when mental health approach, and in that way, it is good, but I am not confused about that approach.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor, for asking that question. I believe that this right to disconnect is okay. Given the, as you rightly pointed out, the patriarchy, I want to say that it is fascism. Like what is forced beyond your period of duty is fascism. So if you want to disconnect, you have the every right to disconnect. But if you want to continue your work, to complete your deadline, and if it is not forced, then that is not fascism. It is like you want to do it, you have the passion to do it, that's different. Otherwise, compelling the youngsters to work beyond 8 hours of time, and anytime your boss will send you emails, isn't it? That pressure, that's not okay for me. And if you take the cross-country experiences, France, they want to have only 3 or 4 days of work week. They don't want to even work for 5 days. So that's the way we are thinking about it. But on the other hand, many industrial doins are asking the kids to spend how many hours of time? That's a way, debate is happening right now. So I think that what is forced and what is thrust upon them as within the framework, that is not acceptable. But journalists, students, economists, we work, but that is not forced. It's a passion, and we work and we complete the deadline. But if it becomes a structural within the framework, then it can lead to vulnerabilities, it can lead to exploitation, and we are not raw materials for a company to seek their end product. The students or the young workers, they are not the raw materials. So that humaneness is there very much in this right to disconnect. And I think it's an offense in France if you sent an email to your employee, then you will get it. So, there are many countries which looked into this question. So don't force, don't do fascism. And it is like a, next level policy reform, the right to disconnect in the way, things are moving in the digital economy right now. So I do appreciate that. And you are confused because maybe that force element, like what is not forced, you enjoy, you complete, but what is thrust upon you, you may not be enjoying. So there, the role of the state is to say, enough is enough. And we have done that. Yeah. Thank you so much. A girl passed away. Remember, in Infosys, I forgot the corporate sector, but she was like EY, yes. So these are the instances we cannot close our eyes to. These are giving inferences that things are not working well. And the kids in different cities, they leave their hometown, they go to the metro. In the finance sector, like everybody now wants to get into the finance sector because the remuneration is so huge. I was listening to the speech by Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian in space, a day back. It was hosted by Indian Institute of Space Technology. So he came and asked the students first, there is a fork in your path. Which way you want to go ahead? One path will ensure enough money, in terms of monetary satisfaction. The other, you get a lot of reputation, and you're chasing your dream, and you're making a mark, you're doing policy impacts. That fork in your road, you need to choose wisely. And he told that if you choose the path which leads to reputation, that will not leave you penniless at the end of the day, but you will get both, but the chronology or the sequencing may be different. One, the way you burn out. But you know very well which path you want to take. So that inner call, you respect and go ahead, and that's very crucial. So things are not good in the financial sector, but you get a lot of money, you live like ants in big cities. We work like, we leave our hometown, we work like ants in big cities. But at the end of the day, when it comes to a reputation for your work, the passion, when the work and passion are together, then there is no problem. But the moment you feel that you are getting into vulnerability, then you have to take a call. Yeah.
Ma'am, it was an amazing and insightful sharing. I have many questions. To begin with, like the Swedish theory of love to probably an Indian practice of love, right? Why I have mentioned probably the question can be very amateurish, because I was writing a proposal where I thought of this time budget redemption, right? Probably you now gave me clarity on how countries like developed countries started thinking about and made policies on this. So I was thinking how students pursuing graduation or any course for that matter can be given an opportunity to do voluntary work to take care of people in pain. Therefore, such hours they spend can be cumulatively stored in a repository, and later when they grow old, it can be redeemed, sort of, right?
Sure.
That's one thing. Probably I have to sit with you. Maybe I'll fall in love, right? Because
The
you
topic,
have, you know,
yes.
yeah, this. That's my point. Like, so, what is your take on how this whole process of what I would describe it, social accountability of each and every citizen can be economically accounted or studied?
Yeah, beautiful. I think I hair raising the topic, you know, it's very good topic. Like our students, you know, there are some unaccountable things you do in life. And that gives you energy to do the things which are there in front of you, like the BA, what do you call, business as usual, BAU. So these unaccountable works you do, that, you know, he's asking me to keep it in a repository, and how that's getting, giving the value addition to the work, the business as usual you do. It's an important question. And in Smithsonian that Space Museum, you know, the way a girl was explaining different, you know, that models of, you know, Challenger, Discovery, all those things she was explaining. You know, I was thinking that she's a professional who knows this. But she told she's a nurse, and this is the voluntary job she's doing. And when you get into the Smithsonian, that Space Museum, there is, you know, group of elderly people, you know, gentlemen who have done a lot of things in their life, youngsters. They sit, they want to volunteer you, and they will explain you things. So the moment you understand that they are not space scientists, it's their passion about the topic and the way they want to communicate to the people. So this is unaccounted. Then in front of you know, different universities, you can see youngsters working in cafes. They love to you know, provide coffee. And if it is near a hospital, and if you love to give coffee, that unaccounted time, you know, you listen to the stories of the people who are stressed because they're close relative in the hospital. They are fighting with the life. So there are a lot of unaccountable work which don't get into the GDP calculation, but that gives power and energy for you to work, and how you can, you know, get that in a repository. Not in terms of a heartless economist measure, but how this will lead value. This is also the part of the time budgets. The moment I say that measure value and get into the policy, one component I left out, that is a non-systems of national accounts time. And that is the component in which he wants to study. Because a lot of economists are studying about SNA, because we cannot leave GDP. And now there is a revolution that the extended SNA, like what was not valued earlier, now after the 1993 SNA, that is also people are studying right now in terms of care economy. What Professor is talking about is SNA, extended SNA, non-SNA. How your non-SNA times value is giving you the power and the energy to do SNA activities. It's a beautiful research question. And there are empirical evidences on this in which we can take it ahead. Thank you for asking that.
Check. In India, everybody seems to be in a hurry. On the road, the railway station, everywhere. But nobody keeps time. Nobody reaches office in time. What do you think?
Absolutely. And if you respect time, time respect you back. That's what I feel. You know, get wherever you want to be, get there at least 5 or 10 minutes before that. That is like a kind of a respect you're giving to, you know, time. Then the time will respect you. And here I can understand that, you know, in Western world, as Dr. Anthony mentioned, you can look at your watch and see, correct your time the moment, you know, bus comes to your bus stop. Then everything is so, you know, the punctuality is so high. And the offices, like if you have a meeting, like we will be there, or they will be there 5 minutes before for a meeting. But we think that, okay, if it is 10 o'clock, 10:05, 10:02 is okay. But that's not okay. You know, it is not okay. So the punctuality, as you mentioned, when you respect time, time respect you back. That's what I feel, yeah. Yeah. little bit. Okay, thank you.
Hi, ma'am. Hello. And I would like to know actually like what policies measures are actually.
Closer.
Hello. Audible now?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually it's like what policy measures are actually taken by India to ensure that these unpaid care workers are being, their contributions are being accounted in? Because you have mentioned something about the transferring it from GDP to the human development, like HDA. So in that context, like how that we can measure that, and are they also given as a part of the policy changes? Are they also given some leverages, particularly in the, like giving some fiscal instruments and all to assure that equality?
Oh, great question. So what are the fiscal instruments to address the statistical invisibility of what is done in care, and how do you measure that? Of course, the measurement, you can take that lowest wage in the wage hierarchy, do a global substitute, arrive at a value. Measurement, but the fiscal instruments and the policies. You know, if you look at the cross-country experience, the child care, the elderly care, and if the informality is very huge, you need to look into the informal sector as well. So to make the policies, data is very crucial. It's not like I am an empiricist, not getting into the other qualitative aspects of it, but empiricism is very important. So when you look into the data, that's the first challenge. So build up the data of the people who are vulnerable, who require support. You built a data, and recently I listened to Balagopal and Isaac creating a data set and app based on which the ailing, the members of each household, the unit of analysis intra-household, that data they will compile, and at the press of a button, you will be able to provide the service if they need a health care. So that's a way, when an economy is transiting or the demographic transition is happening with elderly population, that is one thing. Second is, as I mentioned to you, the care economy in terms of the compassionate care benefits you can build. Third is cash transfers, which is very myopic and short term. Like the people in the care economy, many states in the new budget announcements, they give cash transfers into the hands of a woman who is vulnerable in the care economy, so that she will feel an agency, like the financial independence, and things will work out. But that is a good mother hypothesis. Like if a fiscal policy maker, instead of taking household as a unit of analysis, if you get into intra-household, give the woman the money, the marginal impact of the money in the hands of the woman, that is good mother hypothesis, will be better. But cash transfers is having a very short-term impact. For the long term, like a woman should feel that agency in her. So what is a fiscal instrument to do that, to feel the agency? So there are many other ways in which you can take her out of the household, be there with the economic empowerment programs, so that she herself will feel the agency, and that will have the impact on nutrition of the children, education of the children. So it's like a long-term impact. So there are different ways in which countries have done that, and mainly it is in terms of child care, because that's a time in which a woman decides whether she will quit. 1,000 times you think that you're going to quit the job, but at the same time with passion you studied a lot, right? So then, either in form of taxation, like you take the market solution, but we will reimburse the tax credits for you. So like that, there are different ways in which expenditure side and taxation side can help the people who are important. But if you think that she will quit, let the talents be lost, let the insights be lost, that's fine for us. That's okay. But there are countries which have looked into the fiscal instruments from the taxation side and expenditure side. And another dimension is intergovernmental fiscal transfers. Like the subnational governments have fiscal support or fiscal space coming from the fiscal transfers from above, like the 16th Finance Commission. But they never think about the care economy. They framed the tax transfers formula based on some neutral criteria. But there also you have a scope for integrating a human development related criteria in which you get money. If that is there, Kerala may get more money, because we are doing a lot related to the care economy and demographic transition. So there are different fiscal instruments in which you can look into, and I have written a book about it. It's like a fiscal policy for sustainable development. It was published by Palgrave Macmillan. So you get each of the chapters looking into each of the fiscal instruments in which you can address the human development concerns. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Just when you
ma'am,
want it.
we are here we are social workers, sociologists and counseling psychologists. This is where we will be practicing, the students here will be practicing in these sectors. And as you mentioned, what we are doing is adding quality to human capacities. We're building human capacities. So this is a very forward concept which is practiced in very developed countries. So as practitioners, what can we do? How can we practically implement the concept of time budgets? Or how can we measure human capacities? Rather than, presently what is happening, we do it all in terms of numbers, just like the GDP. So many people got trained in a program, or this is how everything is measured. But practically, how can we contribute to this new concept by measuring human capacities?
Oh, good. Here, there are two, two categories. I am an economist, so I am wired to think like that. But you can help me. Two sets. One is the care provider's perspective. Like the other is the client's. So take an example, health policy. A lot of the questions you ask me can be related or plugged into the health economy sector. So there, if you look at the health policies, most of the health policies are wired in terms of the clients who are using like inpatient or outpatient or just the morbidity statistics. So the moment economy is deciding that we are reducing the budget or the fiscal deficit is huge and we are going to reduce the health sector budget, the moment that happens, the number of days in the hospital get reduced and the patient will be at home. So why the time budgets of a care provider is not calculated in GDP? Whether you are underestimating or seeing that that is not a valuable work you're providing, so the care provider's perspective needs to be incorporated in the health economy policy perspective. Because the way that care provider, the questions you ask, the mental trauma, the social cost, psychic cost, whatever she's undergoing or he's undergoing, that is not getting accounted, and we are thinking that he can stretch it and stretch it and stretch it till he breaks. So there, nobody is bothered about that. We take it for granted. So these are the aspects, I think, through the research we need to undertake. And I think one student from St. Teresa's, I think, but she find it very difficult to research because palliative care, the care provider's perspective within the household, how you will study, the student has to go and stay in that family, right? And the questions in her questionnaire, she cannot ask directly because these are related to the mind space. So to work with the mind space, you cannot have the typical questions like binary questions you cannot ask. You have to live with them. Live with them and study. And I don't know, you may be knowing the nuanced research methodology better than me, how you want to undertake that. So one research question coming to my mind is this health sector, the care provider's perspective, how your research can lead to the valuable insights from there. And then it can lead to the, policy making. But that research is now invisible because we have only the quantitative methodology. There you can contribute. Second is climate resilience and care. So this is another research in which qualitative methodology needs to be incorporated. Like we have sea rise and the way the women and men, their coping up mechanism when they lose the livelihood. So there, the research needs to be conducted in a different style. So that climate change and care, how do you tackle? There, the behavioral, we call it as behavioral economics, but that behavioral aspects will enter into the research relates to the conjunction of this climate and the care. And Brookings Institute is looking into this. The Washington DC Brookings Institution, they have a big project on looking into the care economy and climate resilience, because these are not watertight compartments. When the policymakers look into it, they look climate separately from care or care economy or gender, but these are correlated. We cannot do separately. So the kind of research you provide, those inferences you provide, these are very important. And psychology, I don't know the different methods, but one psychology student asked me a brilliant question. She came to my room in NIPFP and asked, ma'am, when you reached the city as a young girl with a lot of dreams, how the city was how that city was for you, and how you yourself, that agency in you changed, and how the city is different right now. So can you speak to that current self to an older self? Do they meet each other, or are they completely different and you become entirely smart? Then I told that we always meet each other. So there are different ways in which the students of psychology, these are very eye-opening research for me, because I am wired in a different manner. But the way she asked me and take that story out of me as a person, then yeah, there are different methodologies. And quickly, this climate sector came to my mind at the health sector. So you can apply, and in terms of time, you will be able to understand it better. And this time you survey, you can use it as a reference point, that survey, but always you can incorporate and improvise that questionnaire the way you want to ask. Then third is intra-household bargaining power of a woman. Like how they meet each other. Like a young girl, she gets into a new family setup, and after a point of time, the way she works, the studies, how that agency changed in her, and that intra-household bargain. This is Kaushik Basar, former chief economic advisor, has a paper on gender and say, S-A-Y. So how that intra-household bargaining or the power relations change for a girl. So these are the ways in which we can think about different research and how time stress she is. Because the moment you calculate that non-SNA is very shrunk, it is very little, then you understand that there is a time stress. And there is a dual work burden. There are different ways, overlapping activities in time budgets. Overlapping means she may be carrying a child and cleaning the house, or there are different ways. So how do you do the time grids for capturing that? So there are questions and methodology in which you can tackle overlapping activities within the same time grid. So the way you study the time budget. So there are concerns and methodological improvisations. Yeah. Go ahead. You only? Oh, you are doing the roving mic. Okay. You can ask a question. Clarification?
Ma'am, this is on the recent news, like India, secured a better position in the Human Happiness Index. I think now 118th or so. So while I was reading, though I read about this like 15 years back also, the Bhutan King's, logic and all that. I was confused rather, because generosity is also a parameter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not aware of that, like how to study that. We have the Jesuit prayer of generosity. The time I read, I was thinking, like, can we measure that? Should we measure that? Things like that. So if you can enlighten on that.
Thank you so much. But I think they do it in terms of that smileys, no? It's a range. Then they score it. That's the way they measure. Generosity, happiness, these are cannot be measured binary, but 0 to 1, like when we complete a service, we get a questionnaire, no? How do you rank it? So it's based on that scoring you do. That's a technical part. Second, coming to the core question, whether we should quantify generosity, and how do you quantify generosity? We cannot apply a third-party criteria for this. Like, I value the way I perceive your generosity, but you yourself it has to be self, like a perception survey. If it's a perception survey, I think generosity, because we understand ourselves better. So I think based on the perception survey, now for the finance sector and for the non-financial sector, perception survey is an important methodology. So there, generosity can be a variable. Like, but the question you asked whether we should measure generosity or not, that decision to be taken.
Because there are multiple, parameters, right? The healthy morbidity and certain things. Okay, so hope you may be able to tell us what is a weightage given to various things, so that collectively we can call this country has greater happiness than the other.
That's entirely a different question, like looking into how the happiness index is constructed. To start with, first of all, let me admit that measuring human development or happiness is not okay. It will not capture anything, because it's a set of infinite dimensions. You are trying to rank or coming down to certain dimensions which you want to measure. For instance, you are taking education, health, and income as the 3 important priorities you want. So once you decide on the different dimensions, then construction of index happens after you select the variables which capture the dimensions you selected. For instance, if you're selecting education, I need to identify the variables which that measure the education. For instance, there are many debates whether we can get into enrollment ratio or literacy rate or mean years of schooling, completion rate. So there are different variables, but you need to choose one. For health, you mentioned about disability adjusted life expectancy. So the moment we capture the health dimension, life expectancy is generally used. But should we be using the life expectancy, or should we use DALI, the disability adjusted life expectancy? Because you may live long, but you may not live healthy long. So there are distinctions, as you rightly pointed out, but we measure by taking life expectancy. Then income, it is of course captured by income. Then it is just 8 hours of work. We are not incorporating the time use or the time budgets into it. So that's a limitation with the income variable. Limitation with the health variable is we are not, incorporating disability. We are not incorporating any other dimensions of health. Because in the region where we are, the South Asian region, here discrimination starts even before birth. But if you look into the life expectancy, that discrimination starts even before birth. That dimension is not getting captured into the health variable you have selected. So it's like biological advantage that women, life expectancy is greater than men. If you give equal care, equal nutrition, everything. But, that aspect doesn't capture. So many economists ask that, okay, child mortality rate can be one. Infant mortality, the child, probability of a kid living till first birthday. So that can be a better way to measure the health aspects than life expectancy. There are debate related to that. Or should we be incorporating 0 to 6 sex ratio? Because, in Kerala, sex ratio is about 1,000. But the moment you look into the 0 to 6 ratio, it is like 800 or 900. So that shows that there is a discrimination before birth. So should we be taking those variables? So choice of variables to the established dimensions, that is the first question. After choosing the variables, now you need to compare across countries. So how you compare? So you need to normalize these variables. You cannot compare the raw data like that. So you normalize it. Normalize means we need to have a common denominator, like maximum minus minimum will be the denominator. For instance, if I'm thinking about life expectancy, I may take 25 years as a minimum life expectancy of a person and 85 as a maximum. So that denominator stays, and I convert that into normalized variable. After getting all the variables normalized, then I have to think education, health, and income, should I be giving equal weightage? Should it be a geometric mean? Should it be an arithmetic mean? So these questions of giving weights comes into picture. So when we convert this neutral human development into the gender development index, what we do is we give weight and make it a harmonic mean. And that, if students are interested, you can read Amartya Sen and Sudhir Anand's, you know it better. So you can read that methodology in which how the gender, development index can be created. So there are different ways in which you create, and then you get the number and then you compare. It's not like absolute with absolute, but it undergoes a lot of transformation. And if you have a lot of enthusiasm left in you, you can do principal component analysis in which you get which factor matters more for one dimension. So that also you get a PCA analysis in which you can further complicate it. And index is created. But we need to understand, as you said, index, just consider it just as an index with its own limitations, because many variables you take can neutralize each other. So based on that, you cannot have a fight like Kerala is doing good, the Manipur may not be doing good, because you just respect an index just like an index. Consider that and stop it there. But it should not be going political. So that's the way I consider. And happiness index is one step ahead, in which all these methodology fail, and it will be more on the basis of scoring methods, like the way European Commission always want it as scoring. They call it as markers and classifiers, the way they calculate the indicator selection using the markers and classifiers. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And if you want to construct this index, there is UNDP, there is a Excel sheet. The moment you put the variables, life expectancy there, you don't even to calculate each step, you get the end result. That Excel sheet with the formulas, everything is there in the UNDP. So you don't have to go through that rigorous process, you get the value the moment you plug in the data. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, for that insightful session. Ma'am, I was wondering how long it will take our country to take a policy on compassionate care, where it includes those who are at the periphery and at the core. And also one more question. It would be interesting if you could give a practical time budgeting schedule for our students here, like where they should give the priority and thank you.
Wow. Oh my God. First question, how long it will take, We have now 8th pay commission, right? The 6th pay commission took the decision about the childcare for the center government. Women can discrete or continuous take 2 years. So many of my friends, they take a leave, and that is creating a lot of problems in the corporate sector, because the moment a girl of a productive, reproductive age, she gets into it, they may not take her because they are thinking that she may go off leave. So then the concept, came let it go gender neutral. He also gets leave, you also get leave, let it go gender neutral. But there are studies which shows that the moment care economy comprehensive policy go gender neutral, it's a mixed results. Some help within the household, but some, if he goes to Goa, what will happen to, you may take, I'm not telling that you're going to Goa, I'm just telling that, they may go to Goa. This is one thing. Second thing is the teachers and the professors, there are studies in the economic journals that they got tenure faster than women, because that childcare leave, the moment that paternal care or something, so they were focusing on the papers they were writing, and they got tenure faster than women. So we don't know how the utility, but that in no moment I'm telling that don't go gender neutral. It has to be gender neutral. Like a child or the elderly or everything is the responsibility of men and women. It's not like, so go gender neutral with the policies. Then the trajectory you're asking me that how long it will take, if we are lucky, then this pay commission should be taking care of that compassionate care. Otherwise, it just stops. Because demographic transition, if that's a part of the package they are designing, just like the way the previous pay commission designed the child care, they should go about a comprehensive care package in which the elderly care or that Canada's compassionate care like a policy should come in. Otherwise, even a switch, a swap of the childcare which is unutilized, because many women don't finish the 2 years, but it can be swapped for other elderly care, compassionate care, that is also possible. Like, don't strictly say that child care. So there are many reasons used. And the second question about the time budgets of the youngsters over here. What should I do? She's asking me what could be an optimal mix of a time budget for the youngsters. We will float a survey. We will have an exchange of that questionnaire and we will test it. Let the data speaks for itself. We can test it. We can ask them to, complete that, and then we will tabulate it, and we get the pattern. So we can test it rather than we take a predetermined notion about the pattern of time use. Let us test it. Yeah, we can do that. Any like predetermined hypothesis you want to say about because it's a higher education institution. The way a higher education institution perceives time budgets, it can be done for children, students, faculty members, so it can be done with the different categories. Like the way, we were trying to do with AI. Like the way now AI is penetrating our lives, so how the usage of AI and the way time budgets. So these are the new questions we can ask, like incorporating AI and the time budgets. And we can test it here itself, like a higher education homogeneous unit, how the AI and time budgets results are coming out. So those questionnaires we will prepare, the perception survey we can conduct and use the statistical organizations, the survey module, merging into the perception survey we are doing. So that can be done. Yeah. And, this is like a non-economic aspect. Every day should be the unit of analysis of your performance. Like that is the secret of life. Like if you make that every day as a unit of performance, things will start showing up in 3 months because you're moving things every single day. So you will be able to appreciate yourself in 3 months or 4 months' time, things will start showing up. Then in 1 year means your productive time into 365 days. And, Geeta Gopinath, when she was working in IMF, her boss was Christine Lagarde. She's the chief of European, Central Bank, ECB. So she was in IMF and she spoke about Geeta like every day she's performing. Can you imagine that? Every day. So that's the simple thing of excellence. If you move things little by little every day, that is excellence. So time budgets can also be, that quality of time can also be thought about it like way, don't sleep without doing anything. You will be more confident in a week's or a month's time.
Good morning, ma'am. So you have talked about how some very developed nations like France is actually promoting this idea of 4-day week. Is promoting the idea of this 4-day week and thus having a very flexible work schedule. But on the other hand, some nations, for example, like Japan. Now, recently Japan got the first first female PM, and she was actually dismissing this idea of the work-life balance, and she actually cast aside this particular idea. And she was actually urging everyone, both students and all the policy makers, to work. So she actually came up with this idea. And actually, I thought that in India also, we can see a similar culture. So in nations like India and Japan, given their particular socio-economic context, how can we actually adapt these global models of time budgeting? Will it really work here, this time allocation, like how the various global nations like France are adopting? So that's my question.
Which country said you are?
Which country?
France or Japan? What do you want?
I personally prefer something that is seen in nations like France. Yeah.
Good, very
I
good.
mean, that Japan's, that first PM's induction ceremony, it was really interesting. She was actually put aside in that concept. Actually, Japan was actually very popular for this overworking culture. And she actually, as a first female PM, she was actually casting aside this idea. She actually promoted this idea of work, work, and work. And I thought in India also we have the similar concept of having very long working hours and limited working schedules and all. So how can we adapt this given this particular context, cultural context in India?
Thank you so much for asking that. If I put the numbers of the time budgets, existing time budgets time and the way the women and the girls are stressed. I wrote a piece, a column for Money Control, that why the time budgets of non-SNA is not looked into. It is like we are asking the people to put how many hours of work? 12 plus, 8 plus, how many hours? 17, 18, 18 hours. But 18, 19 hours of work, men and women, they are putting, but there are gender differentials, women more. They're putting in this sector. So there is no role of state to support that. On the top of that, they are now trying to increase the SNA time, the GDP calculating time, like work, work, and work. So what will happen to this side? Like, I don't know, we will die. Like the dual work burden will be very huge. And Japan, second is, the country context is important here because they built up from zero base after that. It was very relevant. But, there is a sequencing in which it has to be done. That time, it was very important for a country after that August incident that they have to come up from the zero base. So that is where it's coming from. But to me, efficiency or productivity, that declines if you overwork. Because if it's not like, repetitive things AI can replace. And the time budgets of human will be better. But for the intellectual things, I think that happens. It's not by force or fascism, but that happens. Like, I may be in home or I may be on bed, but I'm still thinking about certain things. So those things will happen. But the moment you tell that you are under watch, you be here, you work, then productivity will decline if it is for an intellectual or a kind of a work. The other thing, we will be better with AI. The repetitive work, we don't have to do every time. So I do stand by France, like you, that overwork will lead to decline in the output if it is forced upon or thrust upon. I think replacement of labor is an important concern with AI now. But then reskilling is another aspect. Like, you learn to deal with AI. Like that reskilling, quick reskilling is very important for people to retain in the employment now. So that is another challenge which we will face now. So with AI, we should be better. We can. How many of you start using AI here? What for? Gemini? Or Gemini, okay. Or Claude or research? Research, okay, good. So you know how to get the benefits out of it and manage your time? I don't have any shyness to say that I use AI. Because, if you learn to use it productively, things will move. How many of you don't like AI? You have not started. You only, next to the baby pink. Yeah. Why you hate that? Because when we talk about the time budgets, AI is a very crucial ingredient of that. And only one student in the lot, she said that she doesn't use AI. Then you raised your hand. Okay. So shall we call it a day, or any pressing question? I can take one more. It was really good. The kind of the vibes and the energy you had, you know, I really liked. So it's a very productive morning I spent with all of you. Thank you. Any last pressing question? Otherwise, we can call it a day. And your name, please? Subina. Subina will take over. Done? So be in touch. Let's call it as a beginning. My email is lekhachakraborty@gmail.com. So in your journey ahead, if you want to get back to me, you can write to me. Okay? Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, Ms. Lekha Chakraborty, for that insightful and forward-looking session. To express our gratitude, we would like to present a memento to Ms. Lekha Chakraborty. I would like to invite Mr. Anthony Thomas, President of Alumni Association, to hand over the memento. Anthony sir and Lekha ma'am, please come onto the stage. Every beautiful program deserves a grateful closing. To extend our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this event possible, we invite Dr. Jasmine Sarah Alexander, Assistant Professor, Department of Social Work, and the Secretary of Loyola College Alumni Association. Now, I invite Dr. Jasmine Sarah Alexander to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, over to you.
Distinguished Speaker, Dr. Lekha, Mr. Anthony Thomas, President of the Loyola College Alumni Association, Principal, Vice Principal, faculty, dear friends, and alumni online. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mr. Anthony Thomas, the President of the Association, for recommending such an illustrious speaker. Thank you, Anthony, sir, for your enthusiasm and your innovative ideas. Hats off to you, sir. For a long time, I've never looked forward to a lecture. This particular topic, time budgets and work-life balance, is relevant to all of us. Dr. Lekha, her expertise shown throughout the lecture, and she has done justice to the topic. And I'm sure that all of us have had takeaways today. Once again, I'm very grateful that we have an international persona like herself amongst us. Thank you, Dr. Lekha. I would also like to extend special thanks to Madam Geeta Paul for instituting this lecture. Though she is not here in person, I'm sure that she's attending online. Thank you, Geeta Paul, Madam, in her absence. Now, I'd also like to thank our principal, Father Sabu, for his guidance throughout. Thank you to Dr. Anita, Dr. Francina for their mentorship. Thank you to Joyce, sir, of the FIUGP office staff, and our office staff, Arun, Minichechi, etc., for helping me with the logistical arrangements. I also thank all the students who helped me organize this program. Finally, I thank all the teachers and the students and alumni who attended and engaged this session, making it very participative. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Heartful thanks to all our dignitaries, guests, participants, and well-wishers who made this event a success. We conclude the 5th Professor Jose Murickan Memorial Lecture. Thank you all for your gracious presence and participation in this event. Wishing you a pleasant and enriching day ahead. Thank you.